Well, it's Sunday again, and welcome one and all Altheans, friends of Althea, and people new to our community. We are going live to do our gathering up close and personal, but at a great distance, thanks to the magic of technology. So, to begin, lots of thanks to the community for all the ways you have been supporting Althea through these days. We have compassionate callers, people just reaching out and connecting with community members just to say hi, just to help you remember that we are still here and we are still growing and glowing, and everything is going to be okay in time. We have had, of course, Daryl at the center, busy as ever. Aaron, Brian, people who work and care for the building have been looking after it beautifully in your absence. We have people responding to each other because of the newsletter, through the newsletter, using Facebook, and just sending words of encouragement and kindness to each other and to Althea. The board has been meeting and trying to create plans for greater resilience, applying for grants to cover our bills, and working together to come up with options so that we can not only survive this strange time, but thrive through this strange time. On that note, I will let you know that we are planning some fundraisers, and we certainly welcome your ideas for fundraisers. You can respond to the newsletter with very simple, clear suggestions. If you write a new version of Moby Dick, we're probably not going to read it. But if you can make simple, clear suggestions, we would love to consider them. And one of the first things we're doing, a little brainchild of board member Ginny, she thinks that it might be interesting for people to get together and have a cocktail of inquiry with Dr. Jonathan, yours truly, which means on Friday, May 15th, we are going to have an hour-long interview. And Ginny promises that she's going to be asking me the most provocative, disturbing, revealing, and curious questions you have ever wanted to know about myself. I think it's enough for us to stop right now. Anyway, stay on the lookout for that, and of course other things that are coming up, other courses and classes. And please don't forget that we are entirely a donation-based organization, and we need your help. We are going through this together, and we want to be there stronger than ever when we see each other face to face again. So I think that's about it for now. Hopefully you are getting our newsletters. Hopefully you've seen that we've had some great classes. Hopefully you've downloaded your free copy of my new book on spiritual experience, and you are making the most of this strange but wondrous time. On that note, I'm going to invite us to slow down, get centered, and find our connection together. So taking a deep breath, in through the nose, something like a big release, a big exhale. Sitting comfortably but alert and allowing yourself to just relax. Even though you may be having a slow, quiet morning, there's always a different quality of quietness we can invite in ourselves. Feel your body soften. Feel your mind grow quieter. Let the emotions of the day rest for a moment and just listen into the stillness. And imagine that when you are in stillness, when you feel stillness, when you sense stillness, that silence, that innermost silence, is not a place of separation. It is a place where we encounter the same stillness in all beings, in all life. When the soul grows silent, it enters the domain of spirit. In spirit, we are one. In spirit, you are right beside me. We are together right now. And we are with everyone we've ever loved. And we are even with all those we feel we have lost. In the stillness of spirit, our sense of oneness blossoms. And from this place, we pray, each in our own way, and yet together as one, whether you're listening to this live or recorded or repeated. To the one that is all, pure existence, the great mystery, Spirit, dear God. We are humbled beyond thought, beyond belief, by the power of life and nature. We are humbled by the endless beauty and generosity of spirit, that we can be nourished, that we can find love, that we can find wisdom in even the most terrible, chaotic, or treacherous times. And we are humbled by those times. We pray that we would allow whatever is taken from us, open our hearts and minds to what is truly within us. Today, may we open our eyes as if for the first time and see life as it truly is. Dear God, may we feel our connection. May we feel the presence of grace. May we understand in a deeper way today that this human experience, that even this life, this material world, is but a metaphor, a finger pointing to the moon. Dear God, may we learn to see through all things, temporary, transient, changing, chaotic, successful, beautiful. May we see through all things to the radiant presence of Spirit and know that we are safe. We are loved. There is wisdom available in every moment, and we can choose to use the power of our minds, our actions, and our hearts to create a new world for ourselves, one aligned with Spirit, and we can create a new world for each other, for all beings everywhere. Today, we affirm our commitment to live rooted in that which endures, that which feeds, that which inspires, that from which all guidance, goodness, wisdom, and grace emerge. Bless us today with the blossoming of a Spirit-centered life. From this prayer, we open our hearts together and welcome the world in this moment, a prayer for everyone in need everywhere, for every caregiver everywhere, for everyone facing any illness anywhere, for everyone facing any economic crisis, hardship, or fear anywhere, and for the radiant vibrancy of this earth, we pray. And now, in our prayer, we lift all these things and the prayers of each other, all that we have not heard, all that is unspoken in the heart, we lift it together and we say, Amen. So, we have our statement of being, which I'm going to pull up here so I don't get it wrong, because I always get a little lost in myself when we read it. And it's important to remember that we've been doing this a long time. And by that, I don't just mean the Althea community as we know it today. Those of you that have been around for a year or two or the last 5, we certainly have been doing this for a while together. But as a greater community, our roots go back over 150 years to a small community of women in Pueblo, Colorado, led by Nona Brooks and her sister and her friends. And what they believed is that everything that happens within God. That God is all and everything and everywhere. The great practice of our divine science roots is the practice of omnipresence. There is no virus outside of God. There is no political success or failing outside of God. There is no life outside of God. And then we become sometimes a bit confused, right? If that's true, then why are things so hard? Why are things so confusing? Why don't I have the peace or the strength that I need or know? The design is divine, but the choices we face are our own. And this is the great gift of the human journey. We will evolve whether we know it or not, whether we choose it or not. It is the impulse of our creation. We will evolve. Consciousness will evolve. Creation will evolve. The question is, how will you participate? And will you be like a leaf spun on the stream? Or will you get in your little boat and row, row, row gently down the stream with the currents of life, with an open heart and mind to everything that happens? This is what we affirm in our statement of being. We affirm that no matter what we encounter as joy or sorrow, as good or bad, as chaos or success, it is all within God, and we must remind ourselves again and again and again that the divine is the design. The design is divine. And that means that if we slow down, catch our breath, refocus, we can feel it. We can feel life speaking to us and through us. And so we affirm with our statement of being the presence of Spirit in all. If you remember, and I believe it's posted online here, you can join us. God is all, both invisible and visible, one presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. We are individualized expressions of God, and are ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. So, we take it to heart. We say it not simply as a ritual or a habit, but we say it because we know it to be true in our hearts. It is a kind of remembering. So, what's it going to be? I think this is the question that a lot of us feel we are facing today. We know that in the next weeks, restrictions are changing wherever we live. In some cases, staying as strong as ever. In some cases, becoming incredibly relaxed, and to the point where medical professionals are terrified. And then all kinds of versions in between. So, what are you going to do? And notice how quickly the mind becomes distracted by our opportunities, by our disagreements, by the way we want things to be, the way we think things should be, and we start to forget the vision. The vision that we have talked about and prayed about and unconsciously felt for weeks and weeks now. This time that we're in has been, whether you realize it or not, the most extraordinary contemplation of what we stand for as a community. Every single time we gather, we affirm that all life is united in spirit, that we are all as one. And once this pandemic started, regardless of your experience, regardless of what you believe or don't believe, regardless of how it's affected you, almost every single one of us has been reminded every day and multiple times a day that we are one world. Yes, there have been different countries and their responses, and different businesses and their responses, and different families and their responses. But we've heard about one thing again and again and again. And strangely, this virus has unconsciously affirmed again and again and again our interconnection, our interdependence, and that we are all united in this world. And where people resist the lesson, not the physical reality, but where people resist the lesson of our oneness, of our interdependence, we see chaos. We see fighting. We see people in upheaval. But in our hearts and in our homes, whether we have truly become conscious of it or not, our planet, our human community has moved forward. All of our children, all of our teens, all of our young adults have been forced to think, see, feel again and again and again that we are interconnected, that we must think of each other all over this planet. If we are to think of one, we are to think of all. And it has become apparent to us all that the only sustainable way forward is through connection, community, collaboration, and finally putting into practice a vision that for too many people has been more philosophy and fantasy than fact. The simple reality is that moving forward in our world today, the only way that we will prosper as a human species will be to overcome imbalance and division, and that is something that we must each take responsibility for every single day. I'm reminded of an old story. Surprise. Didn't think that was coming, right? I'm reminded of an old story. It's a Taoist story from China. And it's a story about a young student, right? Stories are always very similar. And the young monk goes to the master and says, "Master, tell me about the reality of life." Because our work, our discipline, our practice is to contemplate impermanence, the emptiness of all form. And yet, I must admit, when I wake, I notice if my body is stiff or relaxed. I notice the smell of tea or cooking from the village. I notice if it's cloudy, and I have preferences about all these things. I try to stay connected to the formless spirit. I try to maintain the consciousness of our meditation, but it's difficult. I feel like I'm immersed in this world, and I'll never truly be free of it unless I'm meditating or I die. But what about when I walk the streets, O Master? How is it that I can hold this illusion? Well, the Master says, I might have just the thing for you. And so she goes into an old wooden trunk in the back of the room, and she pulls out this curious stone. It's rough, dirty, kind of like a ball, actually, sort of mostly brown, a little strangely colored, an old stone. She says, I'd like you to take this into the village. Maybe go to the part of the market where they're selling the rugs and the baskets. Ask around there what people might give you for this stone. What is its value to them? And what would they pay you? You want me to sell your stone, the monk says. No. You cannot sell this stone. Promise me that. But ask them. Would they buy it from you? What's it worth? How would they value it? Okay, says the monk. Seems simple enough. And so off he goes into the village, down the dusty road. And sure enough, he comes to the part of the market where they're selling baskets and rugs. And he turns to one of the merchants and says, how much would you give me for this stone? The merchant picks it up and laughs. He's like, what do you want to trade? No, sorry, there's stones everywhere. You can keep your stone. I'm not giving you anything. He turns to the basket salesman. Would you buy this stone from me? How much for this stone? And the merchant laughs. You got to be kidding me. A stone? This is a marketplace. We're business people here. I don't understand what you're doing with your silly Buddhist tricks, but get out of here. I'm not buying this. No, please. What's it worth to you? Look, if you're really hard up, I might give you a coin, and I'll use it as a paperweight. I'll use it to weigh down my baskets in the wind. Get out of here. And sure enough, the monk proceeds to ask a lot of people around the street, and the answer is always the same. This stone has no value. I don't want it. I'm not interested in it. Get it away from me. Get out of here. Seems a curious experience. So the monk goes back to the master. Yeah, that was strange. Nobody wanted the stone. What's the point? Now, says the master, I want you to go to a different part of the market. Go down further towards the end where they're selling precious metals. And there, just beyond that, you'll find the jeweler. And under their canopy, a table, a guard, and beautiful, beautiful gems, cut stones from all kinds of exotic places. A place where only royalty and noblemen shop. You want me to take the stone there? Please. So the monk goes off, same routine, down the dusty street, past the blankets and baskets, on to the end of the market where he finds this incredible tent filled with the most extraordinary gems and jewels, guards with sabers standing at the entry. And the monk walks in and says to the person tending to the jewelry, would you like to buy this from me? The jeweler laughs. Please, we deal in precious stones. We deal in the finest gems. Get your dirty rock out of here. No, please. What would you give me for this? What's it worth? Get out of here. I appreciate you're a monk. You got a bag. I'll give you a coin, but take your rock. We don't want it. The owner of the market, of the gem store, comes forward hearing this commotion and says, wait a second, what's going on? I wonder what this stone is worth to you, says the monk. What would you pay me for it? The owner takes this large, round, rough stone and looks at it for a moment, feels it for a moment, dusts it a little bit and looks closely and carefully, almost like polishing little parts of the dirt away. Oh, okay. I'll give you a few coins for this. Well, that's okay, says the monk. I'm not really selling it. I'll take it back now. The merchant hesitates. No, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I could certainly give you some silver coins. Please, I would love to buy it. No, says the monk, I'm not selling it. Please, I need it back. The merchant reluctantly hands over the stone and says, are you sure? He looks around a bit frantically and he grabs a small satchel of gold coins. Are you sure? I would be glad to pay handsomely for this. Please, take this sack of coins. Gold coins. I'll take your stone. No, says the monk, backing away and getting ready to leave. I can't sell it. I'll give you whatever you want. Anything you want, says the merchant. Please, I want that stone. Do you see what's going on here? Well, of course, we can skip ahead to the end of the story. It turns out, when the monk goes back to the master, that this is actually an extraordinarily large, precious stone. You could imagine a diamond or an emerald or a ruby just encased in its rough form, not yet cut, not yet polished. And you see the radical difference in context, perspective, and willingness. And as we go forward into this new normal, we must consciously choose the way we fashion each moment, and we must value every opportunity with the eyes of the jeweler that sees that in the roughness of life there is a hidden gem. We can't be lazy about it. We can't do it when we feel like it. We can't do it when it suits us. To create the future we want is not about waiting for politicians. It's not about waiting for spiritual leaders. It's not about our community changing, other countries finally getting it. That is the attitude that the monk encountered in the first part of the market. It's not my business. I don't deal with stones. It's not my problem. You want to sell something. At first glance, that looks like something worthless. How often do we take for granted the simplest moments of our life? Where we're shopping, how we're shopping, what we're consuming, who we relate to, how we relate to them, and how we offer our love and awareness. If we see this dynamic solely through the lens of self-protection, then what has spread and what will spread around the world is fear. And as one of our dear community members, someone I consider a friend, messaged me this morning, and he said, wow, Look at the power of fear to spread around the planet and consume people's attention day after day after day. What if we could spread love like that? What if we could spread forgiveness like that? What if we could spread this consciousness that we all talk about and dream about in that same way? And we can. Because the same way we have met this worldwide infection with the whole world sharing in common behaviors, whether we understood them or not, the whole world paying attention to common stories, whether we understood them or not, we gave ourselves, most of us gave ourselves willingly to embrace, explore, and be a part of a movement that at best we understood was for the benefit of others. We can take this same discipline, energy, willingness, and embrace every day like this. To see every day as the jeweler in the market who took the stone and, unlike his unskilled helper, looked deeper, listened more, cleared away the dirt of confusion and judgment and selfishness, and saw into that hard, dirty moment an opportunity, a precious gem greater than anything he had ever seen before in his life, and he was willing to give anything for it. You see, interestingly, the vision of the future is critical, but what's more critical is actually our willingness to invest our body, mind, heart, and soul in it. That's what's going to create the change. Even if you've got half the vision, even if you only get some of the vision, it's not about having a perfect picture of a world in total harmony that you sit and wait for. If you can even envision for yourself a small part of that, harmony in yourself. Also, from the East, Confucius said, when there is peace in the self, there will be peace in the home. And when there is peace in the home, there will be peace in the village. And when there is peace in the village, there will be peace in the nation. And when there is peace in the nations, there will be peace in the world. So we are reminded that this precious opportunity, this gem, is something that we must value beyond words. It must be our work. And if you seek purpose and meaning in life, you've got it. It's not necessarily about finding your talents or your gifts or your passions. It's about your opportunity to wake up to the preciousness of life as it is in each moment, and then move forward into the new world, the new normal, with these values, these principles, these promises, the top of mind, tip of your tongue, and at your hand's reach in every single moment. You know, years ago, I used to be a business consultant, and I still do business consulting when it finds me. But one of the things that we specialized in was organizational culture change. How do you change the behavior, the feeling, the energy of a culture, of a community? Typically, organizational culture changes came along with some practical change, a change in leadership, a change in technology, a change in business focus. And again and again and again, we saw the same problems, that people were reaching out for consulting support and help because they had introduced the change, but the culture stayed the same. Think about that. They introduced the new behavior, the new product, the new technology, the new leadership, but the culture stayed the same. Is that going to be us? Are we going to have new social behaviors? Are we going to have new politicians? Are we going to have a new way of doing business, but our culture stays the same? Or are we going to see the real opportunity? When we work with these companies, when we go in and see this drama, this tension, why are so many things new but the culture stays the same? It's because culture must be consciously cared for, consciously chosen and created. Your culture, that means your lifestyle, your home, our community, our neighborhood, our nation. We must consciously choose and demonstrate that we understand the choice. We cannot wait for others. So the true power of vision lies not in the vision, but the willingness to bring it to life, the willingness to be accountable for it. And when we fall down, make mistakes, forget, we get back up. We ask for help. We reconnect with the vision, and we keep going. We are sharing all kinds of beautiful things on social media today. Stories about reclaiming a slower life. Stories about getting back to books and gardens and simplifying things. But are you doing it? Does your life look and feel like the inspirations and the aspirations that you share? It's interesting because what I just talked about in terms of the business world has also been what I've learned from the indigenous community. Long, long ago, when I was first welcomed into a community, a Lakota community in eastern South Dakota, I found that the man who became my father, or my adopted father, my spiritual father, was a direct descendant of medicine people who doctored crazy horse and black elk. I started to learn about those old ways, both from people and communities and also from old anthropological books and texts. And as I grew to know more and more about black elk, as I heard the stories of these legendary characters, what I discovered was that they had a very strong belief that visions, your picture of the most beautiful world possible, visions are never for ourselves. Visions are for the world. And more so, whatever gift or calling we have inside that vision, what we share and give away brings us life. And what we keep hidden, what we hold and protect with fear, brings us death. It brings us deficiency. It drains us. The belief is that it's not enough to have a vision. You have to bring it to life. And strangely, and I guess I always do things a little strangely, that's our core message today. We can talk about visions for a new world, but let's face it, if all, 80-something of us, and probably 100 if we consider the people watching beside us, if all 100 of us got together today and shared our vision of a better world for all, I don't think there'd be that much difference. Harmony, generosity, no division, no extreme divisions of wealth, healthcare, safety, compassion, understanding, all this kind of stuff. We know it. But the hard work of a spiritual life and a better future for all comes from us realizing that we now have a job. And as strange as it sounds, slowing down, being loving, being creative, being intuitive, embracing all that we are is going to be hard work. Because too many of us have lived a life like the basket merchant and the rug merchant, missing opportunities because they don't look right. They don't feel right. We don't feel ready. It's not the perfect time or context. we don't have time for that anymore. The world will be changed when each one of us realizes that this strange, maybe ugly, maybe uncertain, crumbling, dirty rock of a moment that we're in is truly a hidden gem. So, that's what I wanted to share today. I do have a little something that I thought might be fun to offer you, and it's kind of like a take-home tool for you to put into practice, like a simple daily commitment. It's a little memory tool. Because what I realize is that the distance between the vision we have and the actions and behaviors that it will take us to get there may be simple, may be close at hand, but it's tremendous. It's tremendous. And so what that means is we must reinvigorate our touchstones and our practices that give us the resilience and the focus and the power to act on our visions. We must put in place the touchstones and the practices to act on our visions. I recommend prayer, but regular prayer, committed prayer. Pray with your food every time you eat. Pray when you wake. Pray when you sleep. Find something, anything to be grateful for. Meditation, whether it's rigorous, seated, silent, hour-long meditation or just 5-10 minutes of being quiet with your breath. Surrounding yourself with people and content and lessons and energy that affirms where you are going, who you long to be, and what you want for this world. This is the moment to consciously create your new habits of purpose, your new habits of spirit, your new habits of intention and compassion. At the heart of this seems to be the word, for me, the words slow down or simplify. We need to simplify things, communicate more openly, slow down and feel more. So I've got this little memory tool. And the word slow, you can see it right there, S-L-O-W, means S, seek spirit. L, listen deeply and generously. O, open your heart to what is. And W, welcome everything. Now, we're going to take a minute to go through this before we come to a close. The way I'm inviting you to use this as a tool is that you're going to have your community, which you embrace weekly. You're going to have your practices that you embrace weekly. Maybe it's a prayer practice like the Althea prayer partners. Maybe it's yoga. You're going to have practices that you embrace daily, like prayer and meditation. But what is the underlying foundation of this all? What is the mindset, the commitment that you're going to bring to everything when you get stressed or distressed or you don't know what to do? What do you reach for? And I'm going to invite you to simply remember the word slow. It's going to pop up here in just a second. S-L-O-W, seek spirit. Listen deeply and generously. Open your heart to what is. Welcome everything. Seek spirit. Listen generously. Open your heart to what is, and welcome everything. So, what does it mean? Well, what it means is that we start all decisions, all conflicts, all communication by remembering that spirit is the context. Spirit is the container. That's simply the first step. The second is listen. And we say listen deeply and generously. That means that if you're in an argument, if you're trying to decide what's next for you, before you say, share, express, push out what you want, Catch your breath. Pay attention. Learn more. Listen more. Take your time. And then we have open your heart to what is. And that means that we offer compassionate acceptance to everything. Even the things we disagree with, even the things that enrage us or we disagree with. Opening your heart to what is does not mean that you will tolerate it or accept it, meaning allow it to continue and prosper if you have a hand in it. But it does mean that you do not root that relationship in resistance or conflict. You start with spirit and listening by simply opening your heart to the fact that if this is in front of you, then it is already so. And when we welcome everything into the heart, it gives us the presence of mind to do something about it. And sometimes, if we listen deeply enough, the only thing we need to do is let go. Finally, the last thing is welcome everything. Welcome everything is actually more of a mental practice, because what it means is that we embrace the mind creatively, intuitively, willingly. The opening of the heart and the welcoming really go together. It's a way of living with a heart-mind connection that is spiritually centered. We bring love to everything. And when it says welcome everything, it means we are curious. We are observing. We are creative. And in that mindset, everything will speak to us of its hidden truth, its inner needs, and what will bring balance. And maybe that was really what was hidden, locked up in the dirty old stone, the rock that the monk took to the market. Well, I think we've covered enough. Hopefully this was helpful. And I'm grateful once again for you being here, for you making the time. It's critical. It's part of what we talked about today. We cannot create the future we have all longed for and talked about if we don't invest our time, our energy, and our willingness in truly doing something about it. And that begins with finding our own peace. It begins in our homes. It begins with the acronym SLOW, seeking spirit, listening, opening the heart, and welcoming everything. Don't forget that our Althea community relies on and thrives on your generosity. And it is plain as day that this is a moment where your financial assistance is simply more important than ever. We have lost our daily operations, rentals and renters, classes and commissions. We are grateful for and dependent on what you give, whether it's $5 or $500, anything, it really makes a difference. We want to be there for each other, and we want to find an extraordinary future, and we will. Also, don't forget to check out your newsletter. Sign up if you haven't got it. There's all kinds of great stuff happening. We've got our fundraiser, the Provocative and Enchanting Cocktails with Dr. J on May 15th, hosted by our Provocative board member, Ginny Castleberry. That'll be a lot of fun. I believe it's at 5 o'clock on the 15th, so mark that down. There will be other courses and classes coming up. We have our Thursday 11 a.m. live explorations of spiritual themes in daily life. Many of you are watching the 12 at 12 posts that we make. I'm doing daily teachings, about 15 minutes each, and they're all posted here on Althea. You've also seen in the newsletter, my book is free on spiritual experience. We've got a lot. We've got a lot that connects us, a lot we can do together, a lot we can give, a lot we can learn. So thank you, and let's close with a little prayer. Big breath in, big breath out. Feel yourself settling down, and I'm going to encourage you just to take this quiet moment to notice what really resonated in your heart in these words and messages today. What felt like a calling to you? What felt like something you are willing to engage and embrace? And then taking a moment to see if you can refine that feeling into some kind of a commitment to yourself. How will you help bring this vision of a new world, a new normal to life? This is literally, actually the moment in history where you will make a difference. And so we pray, each in our own way and yet together as one, to the one that is all, divine design, pure existence, to the Spirit that is within all things, great mystery, dear God. Bless us and the path ahead. May we find and feel grace and courage and the willingness to love, learn, listen, and let go in our own lives and together. May we feel deep, abiding gratitude for all the ways we're nourished in body and mind, heart and soul, and may we, from that gratitude, become those who till the soil, cultivate and harvest the gifts of love and spirit, nature and community, that we might nourish the world in return. Blessings for all who suffer. Blessings for all who have lost. Blessings for all who help and heal. Blessings that we might find clarity, connection, and the most remarkably beautiful way forward together. For all these prayers and the prayers unspoken all over this planet, and for everyone listening and watching here, we lift them together. And with all the energy that we are, with all the love in our hearts, together we say, Amen. Well, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you soon. Lots of love.